Hey, it is Amulet from Difference in Skill, and yes, it is me again doing Card for Dots, and this is episode 28. Yeah, so Chan's been pretty busy, but I'll be busy soon too, so get what you can. Anyway, so we are doing the new card, National Saviour Grand Ezel Scissors. Man, I really hate his name, actually. Like, I hate the fact that he's holding scissors. That's about it, actually. So alright, this card just came out yesterday, and I'll be reviewing it now because this card is actually pretty good, in my opinion. I'm kind of mixed about it though, and I'll talk about that in a bit. So anyway, let's go on with the effect. So this is an activate effect, limit break force, counter blast 2, soul blast 2. Unlock all your lock cards. If you have 5 gold paladins weird guards, this unit gets power plus 10,000 critical plus 1 at the end of your turn. Soul charge 1, unflip 1 card from your damage. Continuous. During your turn, this unit gets power plus 1,000 for every of your gold paladin weird guards. And of course he has Lord effect. Alright, so this card, first immediate thought is GG Link Jokers. This is probably like the biggest plot armor ever. Like, man, I honestly thought they were not going to make cards that will unlock other cards, because that kind of destroys the whole purpose of Link Joker's like gimmick. Because I'll just tell you straight up now, this is not the only card that can unlock units. So we're probably looking at another meta shift in a way, or I think the meta is kind of getting a bit it's very two-sided actually. Anyway, I'll talk about that in another video. So yes, this card basically destroys, or this really anti Link Joker, because like this is one of the only cards that will have basically a low cost, and it will unlock every locked unit on your side of the field. Now that is extremely good, because if you ever run across a Link Joker, they don't even want to try to extend their cost into locking more than one unit now, especially if you have this unit on the field or you potentially play this card in your deck, because they basically minus a hell lot. They minus like a hell lot for trying to expend their costs to lock more than one unit, especially with Chaos Breaker Dragons and basically most Link Joker cards, because they have to discard cards, and yeah, if you unlock all your cards, then they don't get any cards back. So they're like on the minus train if they do that. And of course, in addition to that, you gain 10,000 and a critical, meaning that if they have less hand to work with by using the cost to try and lock your cards, it'll be harder for them to block the Vanguard attack. Okay, and furthermore, to add up to all those things, you also get the Soul Charge 1 and unflip a card from your damage. So this is basically like a counter boss 1 soul boss 1 effect. Now that is really good, because even if you're not playing against Link Jokers, you basically have an effect of counter boss 1 gain 10k and critical. Now that is pretty decent, especially in a clan that doesn't use soul as much. I'll kind of talk a little downside in a bit actually, because one of the immediate things that tell me when you need to use soul to actually activate your effects, it just tells me that one of the downsides is that, like the one that came up to my mind like right now, is that you probably won't be able to activate Din Drain as much, which is quite a shame, because if you activate Din Drain, it means you might not be able to activate this effect as much. So that's one thing for sure. Of course, in turn you do soul charge, so it's not as big of a deal. This continuous strike is basically the old days, so you gain 1,000 for every other weird guard. Not really a big deal, because it just means with any booster, or most boosters in the game, you'll probably be just hitting for above something like 21 and above. Basically that's something the original Ezel already did, and it's fine, I think. Alright, so one of the things that really brought up my attention is that this is not a Liberator. And honestly, I have to say that it has to be kind of that way to make it fair, because if this was a Liberator, then it would be pretty unfair, because you would be basically gaining a lot of synergy and you get to keep all your utility and whatnot. One of the things that really came up to my mind is, like, if this was a Liberator, it means that you have 2 options of 12k attackers at grade 2. and I don't know if that's a main reason to actually put this card as not a Liberator, but it is pretty notable because having two options to play 12k, meaning your deck can have 8 12k beat sticks. That's just really good in this format because it means you have a lot of cards that can just attack the Vanguard by themselves. And of course, because you're not a Liberator, you kind of lose the utility of the 10k grade 1s, so it's kind of a downside. And of course, you kind of lose synergy with a lot of other good cards that came out recently. One of the things is you can't really use the 7k Din Drain anymore. I think it's Josephus? I don't know. I just call him Guy Din Drain half the time, so yeah. Anyway, you kind of lose some of the better cards, but that's kind of a trade-off for playing something that kind of shuts down something that's really top tier at this current moment. What else do I really have to put into thought here? Well, one of the things about his costing system is that it's quite nice because it also means it's quite nice because you get to basically gain your cost back at doing this stuff to actually activate this effect multiple times. At the same time, you don't actually get to activate this as many times as you think because I think Gold Paladins don't really have beside the Unflippers, I think they don't really have any exterior soul charging units. There's not really any units to help it soul charge. So that's one thing. That also means that you can't activate this effect forever. If you ride normally without going through a second grade 3 ride, meaning if you don't do a break ride or a cross ride, you basically can activate this effect only twice because you only have 3 soul to start with. And this is assuming that your grade 0 will go back into the soul. If you break ride, you can do this 3 times, which is pretty decent. You have to keep your costs open. That's one of the things. It's not exactly too big a deal, but Go Paladins do kind of use quite a bit of cost in general, so it might become an issue. I don't think it's that big of one, but it is there because if you play this card, all your costing is probably going to mainly be put into this card, so it probably shifts your gameplay idea anyway. So you probably have enough cost to actually activate this if you're playing this card. As for how this card will be put into usage in the future I'm actually not quite sure how decks will be really built, but one of the things that I have in mind right now is that I think traditional Paladins will kind of be able to shine again because of this card, and because of how it's not a Liberator. Basically older Paladin cards from set 6 and or set 9 and before will basically be coming to play again, they will be used again. And that's great because for people who had the older Go Paladin decks, they can actually do something with it now, unlike just if you actually waited that long and didn't play Liberators for quite a while. It means you have something to do with your old cards now, and if you did play Liberators, it means you can put that second old Go Paladin deck back into use, which is a pretty good idea. Of course, this card can be played with Liberators as well, but I'm actually not sure how you might construct a deck. My general idea for this card is that I don't actually want to play 4 of this. You can actually kind of treat this card like how Eradicators treat their Descendants. You don't need to play too many of this because some of the there's a lot of great other Gold Paladins cards. There's a lot of great Vanguards out there. Gansel is right there. Alfred is pretty decent as well, and well, that's all I can name right now. But there's quite a number of good Gold Paladin Vanguards, and you might not actually want to forfeit them just for playing this. Because this effect is really endgame, and that's one of the issues really, is that I personally think if I play 2 of these in the deck, it might work pretty well as well, but because you don't if you focus your entire deck to playing this, you basically don't get as much plus synergies. This is very anti-Link Joker. It's really good in that kind of sense because Link Jokers are in the main meta at the moment. But the fact that I can't really gain units for free as easily with by playing this card. It is kind of a downside in that already, because that's one of the things you kind of want doing Go Paladin is you want to kind of shit out units, right? Or because it is one of their main gimmicks to like put units outwards, but that's one issue. So yeah, I don't really know how people will actually put this card into use. Like, I think if you play four of these, your deck actually might not gain as much plus synergies, so that's quite a downside. So that's why I don't really want to consider playing four, because I'd rather play something like Alfred to gain units first, and when I really need to, I would ride this. But of course, if you play two, you don't exactly know. But it works pretty well for Rag here, so like I think playing two of this would be fine as well. Of course, you can still consider break rides and whatnot. Like if you play break ride in this card, I would say it's probably still a pretty decent deck. But like of course you lack the synergy of actually gaining units for free. Beside using something like Vivian's or the new Liberator Vivian. But like it's definitely harder to do when you play something like Vivian, because it's not exactly as dependable as something like your Vanguard that can just counterblast cards and just top deck units. But yeah, that's one of the things. But yeah, that kind of wraps up my thoughts on this card as of now. We really have to wait until this card is out, or maybe I have to go on card fight area to really test this card out and see how it works. But in my general opinion, it's a pretty good card with some pretty decent downside, making this card I would kind of fair. I kind of don't like the idea of unlocking, because it really does destroy the gimmicks of Link Jokers. But I guess that's why this is like plot armor. And yeah, I also don't like how he holds scissors, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, this video is a pretty long one, so I'll be back in the next episode, hopefully shorter, and I'll see you guys later.